What is up, peeps? Good evening. Happy Tuesday. Garbage night again. I was with you last Tuesday. Weather has gotten fall-like here in Pennsylvania, which is, what are you going to do? I don't mind it too much. When it gets cold, it sucks. I got to tell you, there's nothing worse. I was just thinking of this. There's nothing worse than we're at work, and we work 24-hour shifts, so we have beds. We, around 11:30, midnight, guys head back to bed. And if you get to sleep through the night, you get to sleep through the night. But it usually doesn't happen that way. But when you get up and you leave that warm bed and you throw your warm clothes on and before you get in the truck, you open the garage door and you feel that cold just come in. And I'm just thinking like, oh, it's fall. It's nice right now. I enjoy Halloween, work Halloween this year. But it's fun. It's a fun time of the year. Football, leaves, everything like that. I'm having my first hot tea of the season. I like Earl Grey I put honey in it and a couple squeezes of fresh lemon. And that's how I like to have my tea. But anyways, I was just thinking of that, like, man, we're not far from that. So let's say hi to everybody. And then I'll give you my intro and tell you what's going on, why I'm doing this type of video tonight. I think it's helpful in life. The topic transcends YouTube, certainly. And it absolutely transcends the true crime genre, because I watch a couple other different type of things on YouTube, and it's the same everywhere. You see it, you'll be able to see it on a lot of different people and a lot of different things, and even in yourself. That's projection, but we'll talk all about that in a moment here. Rescue all the dogs. What's happening? Good to see you. Witchy Widow. Good to see you. 63 Clocks. Good to see you as always. Hey, Jill. How are you? Jinx is always in here. If I keep sneezing, I've had a runny nose and no headaches or no fever or nothing. And I'm not like a big Corona guy, so I don't think it's anything like that. But if you see me sneezing here, I went golfing Friday, and I don't know if it's the weather or what the heck, but since being a celiac and going gluten-free, I don't get headaches. I used to get headaches when the weather changed. What's up, Olivia? Big Fish, how are you? Yes, I shared this on my community page, the floral one. I'm sure that Jinx is probably going to post that next if she didn't already. So it's this Sunday, and the old Camden Road, I'm pretty sure that's the Freedom Bridge lot, if I'm not mistaken, where we have met other times. Can't make this one, and it doesn't look like I'm going to want to make the floral one November 17th either. Unfortunately, it's just the way that my work schedule falls in like the second 2 weeks of the month. The weekends are really bad, but not the end of the world. What's up, Gibbo? Good to see you. Honeybee, good to see you as always. Definitely check Honeybee out. Gibbo has a channel. Check him out. A lot of people are starting to get channels, which I think is awesome. Uh-oh. Jason Voorhees says he heard Michael Myers. Well, possible. we were talking at work, and these are the things we talk about at fire stations, not to get off topic. Did Michael Myers ever talk? Blah, 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 this or that. Did the Pink Panther ever talk? Things like that. We couldn't come up with one place where Michael Myers spoke that we knew of. But I remember in the one movie, one of the newer movies, that the one, there was like two true crime podcasters, a guy and a girl from England or something, and they came over and they had the Michael Myers mask, and he went and seen Lori and said that he thinks that Michael would talk to her, but I don't know. But Jason, I can't say for sure, but you never know. JJ in Kentucky, the bluegrass state. Or as I had a friend that lived in Kentucky, probably more aptly called the green grass state, huh? I'm not talking about horse racing. I think that's a big cash crop for them. Private any bit of question family. Oh, I'm not even sure what happened there, Big Fish, but yeah. I've always thought you were cool. We might not agree on everything, but yeah. You're good by me. A honeybee. Gifts 5 memberships. 5 more memberships. So there'll be another members only at the end of the month. And I have a couple different ideas. This will be a non-true crime one, but I have a couple different ideas. It'll be around Halloween time, but it's also going to be around Delphi trial time potentially, or expectedly, right? I don't know. I just can't see this actually getting the trial. I don't know why I think that. I don't have any science behind that or any legal expertise, but whoever got the memberships, thank Honeybee as well. Honeybee's bought like just almost all my memberships, which is fantastic. Yeah, Jinx is definitely a hugger. I had a great time in April. It's a somber time, but it's an interesting time. It's a good time, and you can feel it. If you've never been there before, and this is your first time going, you'll feel. I think everyone feels 2 things for sure, and then from there, depending on how you are, you might feel different things. But there's 2 things you're going to feel for sure. 3 things. When you get there and you get in the parking lot and you meet everyone, you're going to feel like you've never met these people, but you've talked to them for months, maybe years on YouTube or an email or whatever. And then you get to know them and they're exactly what you expected them to be. Like, they're not like, they're real people. Think about it. A lot of people you met through true crime, you met on YouTube. Maybe you were friends for a couple months and then you kind of drifted apart. You were different people. These people were real people, the people that you're going to meet out there. And I'm sorry I couldn't make it to meet more of you that are going. But the other 2 things you'll feel are when you get out there, and even though you're with a group of people, how secluded you feel. You could hear the creek kind of running, but it's so quiet. It's nature quiet. And when you get to the bridge too, you could picture yourself on that bridge. And granted, people could see you probably from a long ways around if anyone's in those woods, but how secluded it feels. And then you're going to get the feeling, I got the feeling maybe halfway down the path when I was really able to start to see the creek before I got to the bridge. You're going to get the eerie feeling. You're going to get the feeling like, wow, this place is absolutely beautiful, but there's going to be this eerie feeling that hangs over this place probably forever. And, that's how us as human beings just kind of cope and react with things, I guess. But it's definitely worth going if you have the opportunity. Great to meet people. I wish I could eat like a normal person. I definitely got to eat with you guys, but I have to eat gluten-free, so they go to particular places. But take the opportunity to go out there. I don't know if there's good weather. I'd probably fall ball going on at the ball fields. Maybe somebody could find out. There's usually we have fall tournaments here. Well, hey, that'd be a matchup I'd see. We never got that. We got the Freddy vs. Jason movie. Necessary Evil, what is up, my friend? Hopefully you're okay. I don't know if you're in the way of that hurricane or not. I don't know if Ruckus is in here or listening. Bunch of hillbillies like Jinx. or she calls her Thicker Billy, I think. Well, Jason, you're right. He's determined. And as a former ball coach, I could appreciate that. Appreciate it. All right. Oh, Ron Logan. What's Ron saying tonight? Come to the farm. Oh, Ron's drinking, I think, again. Look how he's spelling. Smoked hog and gooses. A couple of different things. So maybe, if you're watching your weight or working out, you go with the gooses instead of the hogs. I've never eaten goose before. Well, we've all made a lot of mistakes. I make a couple of mistakes every day. On good days. Oh my, I don't know. What do you want to know where that's going? Joe Newman, what is up, brother? But anyways, tonight I want to talk about projection. So Susie, how are you? So make sure I say hi to everybody. Freddie's a chump. I agree. Of all the scary killers from the 80s, I think Freddie would have been the worst. Willie Nelson. I thought goose was like a fancier type thing that you would see, but I've never had it. But that probably is why I've never had it, because it's fancy. Okay, so again, I talked about the weather. Football, hey, the Steelers are struggling. Expect to see Russell Wilson at some point. He'll be activated this week. I don't know if Ruckus is watching or listening, but Drake May is finally starting for New England. Dave, if you're listening or watching too, Danger Dave, you should be happy with that, I think, because I think that kid can go. Michigan, I didn't expect them to be great this year. I would like to see if, like I told my son, New Year's Day bowl game, I'm happy. You got to build from the portal and pay the money. You have to. The guy from Barstool Sports agreed to pay a quarterback $1 million or $1 to $3 million a year. Dave Portnoy, because he's a Michigan guy. I don't know if he graduated from there or he's just a fan. But anyways, the hurricane, if you're in the path of the hurricane, it's coming in, and it looks, really, really bad. So plus they just had the other storm come through. Be careful during and after. A lot of people get hurt after walking around, stepping on things, hot power lines, things like that. But I think that they've gotten to the point now where they'll knock the whole grid out, because they know that these poles are going to fall out. So they'll just say, listen, we're going to knock power out. So that's one less hazard, because it's going to knock itself out anyway. So, all right. So I have a couple of cool slides, and a video to show you on projection. What's projection, and why is it pertinent here? I see it. I watch videos on YouTube, and I watch videos in many different genres: sports, true crime, the mafia. The mafia stuff's kind of funny. You got these old guys that are both snitched and they've been in jail and they're starting to kill each other. It's entertaining. I guess it could get serious, so hopefully it doesn't, but you see it a lot. So people project constantly in life, and it's a defense mechanism. You can project positive things on people too, which as a mentor or coach is something that you're very aware that you can do that. You can put these positive thoughts in their head, and you could project, and they could say, oh man, that didn't look good, that play. And as a coach, you could say, well, yeah, you missed the layup, but let me explain what you did right here. You got the steal, you went off your right foot, everything worked except the shot didn't go in. So I'm not mad at that. You take the next shot. But there's a couple of slides here to show you. Like I said, a couple of videos, but let me start. And I want you to understand this to help you understand people better. I'm a big study in people and psychology and everything like that. I just find it absolutely fascinating. So we could talk about YouTube. You could talk about different genres of YouTube. You could talk about social media. You could really talk about anything. And you're going to see projection and people doing projection. So let me give you this article first. Psychology Today is a place that I go to all the time. If you ever watch my videos when I share things, let me get the tab up instead here. So we're going to give you a pretty good definition of it, and let's understand where it comes from. And I don't want to bore you guys too much, because I know everyone isn't into this like I'm into this. So I want to keep it light and have a couple cool slides so we can just bounce around and not get bogged down in the details. But I'll post the links to everything I have here in the chat if we like it. Projection is the process of displacing one's feelings onto different person, animal, or object. The term is most commonly used to describe defensive projection, attributing one's own unacceptable urges to another. For example, if someone continuously bullies and ridicules a peer about his insecurities, the bully might be projecting his own struggle with self-esteem on another person. There's another thing with bullying. And listen, bullying happens everywhere. It happens everywhere in the animal kingdom. I had a friend the other day said that he's pro-bullying, and what he meant was you get your butt kicked a little bit. We're from a different generation. Getting punched in the face builds character, things like that. Maybe we've evolved past that point now. Maybe we haven't. I don't know. But Sigmund Freud was kind of the first person to have this. And the other guy that I'm going to show you here momentarily is also a Sigmund Freud guy. But we have some slides here. So let's just go through these slides and we'll just talk about situations that you're going to see. Now, as you read these slides, you're going to project these things on people in your life, people on YouTube, people you see on TV, politicians. That's normal human behavior. It's normal human behavior to project things. But when it gets dangerous or serious or hurtful to people externally or people yourself, that's when things, you need to do a gut check and kind of look inside. But we'll get to that. Psychological projection or projection bias is a psychological defense mechanism where a person subconsciously denies his or her own attributes, thoughts, and emotions, which are then ascribed to the outside world, usually to other people. So basically, this is a primal thing. They probably can't even tell that they're doing it. They may be aware that they're doing it after, but it just might be something that happens, especially in a quick fight or flight response, in a debate, in a fight or something. You know what I mean? That their brain's going to go one of two ways. And, you have that fight or flight, and this is going to kick in. Thus, projection involves imagining or projecting the belief that others originate those feelings. So basically, if I don't feel good about myself and I don't think I'm a handsome guy, I'm going to ridicule other people and I'm going to put that projection on them. If you thought it, you got it, right? That's a term that's used here. And we're going to see that from a psychologist coming up in a video that I have. Projection reduces anxiety by allowing the expressions of the unwanted unconscious impulses or desires without letting the conscious mind recognize them. So it's an anxiety. It's an anti-anxiety release for people to do that. So they don't have to look inward, so they can project outward, is the narrative that I think that's important to get here. Example of this behavior might be blaming another for failure. The mind may avoid the discomfort. So you don't want to say, hey, it was me. Maybe you failed a test or something. The teacher, they didn't teach me well enough. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. So the definition, once again, this is the clinical definition: projection defense mechanism where individuals attribute their own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or motives, putting them on other people. And there's a couple of examples. Like I just said before, the teacher, employee frequently talks about others, might accuse colleagues of spreading rumors. And the person doesn't even realize they're doing it. This is a primal thing. Now, afterwards, they may realize they do it, and they be able to look forward and say, hey, listen, this is what's happening here. But it's tough. Psychological projection is linked to low self-esteem. So even if the person doesn't realize that he has low self-esteem, some of these people that are real, like, over the top, boisterous, they have the lowest self-esteem. They talk really loud, and they want to do things like that. Well, I don't think that I am like that. I think that I have my self-esteem needs knocked down a peg or two, and I fight with that all the time. I know that when ego dies, the soul awakens, and I've gotten a lot better with it, but I'm just the guy that likes to talk. So there's people that like to talk, but then there's people that are not themselves. So when they're around people, they project themselves and they push themselves out there. And hey, I'm this or I'm that, and they have very low self-esteem. And there's other things that you could tell about people that have low self-esteem. But the good news is that could easily be helped, because the low self-esteem is something they're projecting on themselves, right? Nobody never might have thought that they were not good looking. They just might have thought they were not good looking and looked around and everyone thinks I'm not ugly, but no one really thinks that, but they put that on themselves. So through, therapy and things like that, you can fix that. So that's the good news. That can be, I don't think that this type of thing is ever like irreversible. So if people want to take that time, and it's a gut check, I did it. It is a gut check to even agree to go do it. But psychological projection, also known as blame shifting, is a theory in psychology in which humans defend themselves against their own unpleasant impulses by denying their existence while attributing them to others. So, you see a lot of things like within like true crime era where people, oh, everyone over there, or these people that believe one thing, they're all on meth. And then you come to find out like the people that are blaming, a good portion of them have arrest for that, and hopefully they're not using it anymore, and hopefully they have a lifetime of sobriety. But that is a form of projection, and that's a tangible form of projection. You can look these things up and see these things, and it's not 100%, and it's not everyone that does it, and it's not everything like that. The mafia genre, right? There's guys that accuse each other of snitching on each other. Keefe D, I didn't snitch, I did a proffer. And it's back and forth. So they project it on others, but it goes on everywhere. But I think that's like an interesting thing to do. Delphi equation to this matter, which is a little bit funny. It's not funny, but so, for a long time, people that believe Richard Allen's innocent thought, the state's corrupt. They lied. They did this and that. And that was a projection. Maybe they really, for sure, some people really believe that. Absolutely. I'm not knocking them for believing that. But other people just kept saying it and just stirring it and saying, yeah, I don't know. I've never seen anything, but yeah, it sounds good. Let's roll with it. And then one of the defense witnesses actually does what everyone said that the law enforcement did and has been charged with it. And it's just like, it's a weird form of projection. This is the other one I was reading. Sorry about that. But as you can see, you guys can read for yourselves. Here's a couple of examples of it, and we're going to get back and talk about all this, and I'm going to catch up with all your comments. I promise. See, as soon as you step out of that stupid little box, thing goes off. So I got to keep it inside of here. Examples of psychological projection might look like a person who struggles with their appearance, body shaming others, dishonest person worried everyone's lying to them, a cheater accusing their faithful partner of cheating, an insecure person making fun of someone else's looks, someone in an unhappy relationship amplifying the issues in other people's relationships. So, like, let's say a husband and wife are having trouble, but so is their buddy and girlfriend have a big fight at the bowling alley or something, and they just jump all over it because it deflects from them. Assuming people that barely know you hate you without proof when really you don't like or are judging them. So, just people assuming things about people, assuming people that, that's just kind of like what we're talking about at the core of things when you self-project that, but you put that on yourself. So you're projecting something out, but what you're taking in is something much stronger, much worse for you, and it's very detrimental. A person who struggles with their own communication might read your neutral text in a passive-aggressive tone. A text message is one of the greatest things with projection. One examples you can use. You can send a text message to one person, and he could take it one way. You could send a text message to another person. He takes it one way. Third person, two women, they take it different ways. So that is all projection. You're projecting on that message. So we do this all the time. But when does it become dangerous? And when does, not necessarily dangerous, maybe in the rarest of occasions. In the absolute rarest of occasions, it becomes dangerous, but not in a thinking way. A lot of people are thinking in one way or something. I'm going to get to your questions now, but a lot of people are thinking in the same way, and it becomes dangerous that, people worry, all these people are going to think this way and they're going to vote together. Well, if they think the same way and vote together, that's kind of what our system is. And if we don't agree with it, or we think it's a cult, or we think whatever you think, then you got to try to do something to win at hearts and minds. I don't know, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. But let me see what you guys think about the slides, projection, and why I'm going to tie this in together. I gave you a couple. This is a true crime channel, so I gave you a couple examples of that. And this is not. First of all, what I talk about a lot is The Secret. The law of attraction, which I'm a big. I'm kind of like wowed by it a little bit, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But I definitely think it's an interesting concept. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about, people saying and doing other things. But a lot of times you'll see somebody and they'll come on any platform, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is. And they'll just harp on the same thing over and over and over again. And those people, a lot of times, are the easiest people to tell that are projecting, because they'll vary off their path a little bit. They might change a detail here or detail there, but the main gist of what they want to get across to you, what they want to get across to the audience, is the same thing. And it's just like harps over and over and over again. And those are the people you're able to look at in with the mirror and just say, flip it around and say, wow, this is their fears of themselves or their shortcomings of themselves. And when people attack people, anybody in any kind of attack, say you're ripping on each other, busting balls as guys, having a couple beers, say someone's rapping against you and you're rapping against each other, making fun of each other, whatever, that's projection too, because you're going to attack what maybe that you see is the most, not vulnerable necessarily, but the most admirable trait about that person, or something about that person that reminds you of them, or vice versa. You see something of yourself in them, that's what you're going to attack. So that's the projection thing. So like I said, when people are just pounding over and over and over, same thing, you can almost certainly look back on them and say, hey, look, this is the guy's problem. This guy has his problem. Sammy the Bull. Famous snitch. He's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. You got to tell everyone he's a tough guy. His biggest fear, in my opinion, is that he's not a tough guy. He doesn't think that he's a tough guy. And I'm not challenging Sammy the Bull Gravano, even at his advanced age, in any way, shape, or form. So don't get it wrong. But I think that when you see something like that, that tells you a lot about people. So the idea of telling you guys about this is to help everyone understand. When you see people, and let's relate it to the Delphi case, because it's what most of us, the most controversial case that most of us are interested in, have covered, have researched, however you want to say it. Look at it now, and instead of just like when people do this or do that or say something, first of all, you can't get mad if someone has a different opinion and has a different theory. Well, Richard Allen's innocent because of, I think, of this. Well, you could look on the face of it and say, that sounds crazy, but like, did you walk that theory out? Did you research it? And could you come back to that person and say, hey, what you said was wrong because of X, Y, and Z? So you can't get mad at people for that. But the attacks, the attacks go back and forth. Again, I say it every time I talk about it. I was guilty of it myself. And they go back and forth. But the longer I've done this, the more I can understand where people come from. So I don't get mad at that. I understand, well, X, Y, and Z is doing this because of X, Y, and Z, or they're saying this about family because of this or that, in different, you know what I mean? So you kind of understand that. Okay, that kind of explains it. It doesn't excuse it, and it's not okay. And hurt people. We talked about that. But, the family issue. So you have people that, there's some people that say, hey, listen, the family needs to be vetted. I get it. I feel that they were. They're the first people that you have to look at. Absolutely. Anyone had a contact with the girls in those upcoming days in the family, 100%. People that were there at the scene, people that live near there, those are the initial quaff of people that you want to have. You want to nail down. They did it, or there's no chance they did it, or we have to keep them on a list. But the people that like mercifully attacked like the families of the the Delphi girls, it's projection. It's projection, and I feel sorry for what happened with them. But at the same time, you got to break that cycle. Break that cycle for your kids and your grandkids, and say, hey, maybe the way I grew up was what it was, but I'm going to draw the line right here and say, we're not going to do that anymore, because that was fucked up. And I shouldn't have had experience what I had experienced. That, it makes you the person you are. In some ways, those experiences are, and I'm from the inner city, so this might sound weird, but in some ways, those experiences are good. You see fucked up shit. You learn the hard way. You don't have what everyone else has. So it makes you work harder. It makes you appreciate what you have more. It makes you a tougher person. It makes you fight adversity. When the college recruiters come here and they want a McKeesport kid, they say, we know that if this kid has a bad game or two bad games or makes a turnover, he might have a head problem for a game or two, or he might be upset, but it's not going to kill him because he's lost friends, in middle school, and he's seen things. So he's been able to come back from that. So I would encourage people to do that instead of lashing out against the families. Look inward, pull that together, and say, you know what, we're not going to do this anymore. Starting right now today with this lineage, from here on out, and 100 years from now, if my ghost comes back, we're going to see my great grandkids, and they're all going to be cool. And I would hope that people would do that. Okay, but what are you going to do? They don't want to, they want to. But I think that screams to me, that screams that, and not in every case. Again, nothing's everything. But I would say the vast majority of the cases, that's to me screams that that's what's happening. And the reason I wanted to talk about this here, and I have a video that I want to put together that I want to show you that really explains things and gives a couple good examples of this is to help you with everyday life and with yourself. This isn't like a YouTube thing, although we talk about profiling YouTube, we talk about it in the title because I think it's very interesting. So even when people go back and forth and fight on whatever topic they're fighting about, it makes no difference what it is. It makes no difference what the genre is. In the true crime genre, I know people a little better than I do in the mob genre. So the true crime genre, we'll look at two people are arguing, and I just watch what they're attacking about each other, and I try to take a step back from that, regardless of who they are, and try to okay, this person is saying this because of this. This person's saying, it's almost like a puzzle. So in a weird way, it's like a clinical thing. And I was involved in my share of spats for sure, but I've backed away from them since. And I've always now looked at as a clinical thing. Like if someone says this or shows this, where does this come from? And usually I can explain it and understand it. And I don't respond. And I just say, okay, well, I understand why so-and-so did whatever they did. And that's fine. And it's, again, I always said this, YouTube's a free platform. No one has to watch you. No one has to watch anything. But people watch the channels that they want to watch and that they're entertained by, and the channels that they believe. And that's what's great about it. It's a free choice thing, and if you choose not to follow somebody, then you don't follow them. I've always invited people in here to follow other people that I don't follow necessarily, or maybe they don't like me or my friends, or vice versa. And it's always been open, and I've always enjoyed that. But I wanted you guys to understand this whole projection thing and start putting it to use. Not just when you come to watch YouTube true crime videos, but all the time. Watch when there's a political debate. Watch what they attack about each other. Now, especially early in the debate, they got their points they want to hit. But later on in debate, you know what I mean? When they're kind of grasping at straws, okay, what were those other things that I wanted to hit him on? Watch what they go after. And when it gets personal, when attacks get personal between people, watch what people attack about others. And I just find it absolutely just so interesting, the psychological aspect of it. And it's psychological warfare, as in a video I'm going to show you, like Carl Jung says. So, but that's kind of going to be what, our path of this video tonight is. And I just think, I don't know if all you guys are into psychology as much as I am. Probably not. Maybe a little bit. But I'm going to post the links for the channels of a little video that I made, and the video itself. There's Dave. Dave's doing a good job covering that hurricane. JJ not a fan of goose. Yeah, it's like a delicacy somewhere. What's up, Kit Kat? What's up, Brandon? I got to watch some of your Sunday night video this morning. See you later, Jason. I appreciate that. Yeah, someone just asked me that the other day. I think it was Big Fish, wasn't he? 6'3". I wouldn't say super tall. Now, if you were talking about the video where I was giving that award out, that my buddy Gerg's not tall. He's probably 5'6" or 5'7". So I'm 6 or 7 inches taller than him. So, I had golf spikes on. They might have put on a little bit, not as much as football. What's up, Ben? Yeah, that was the video. Gerg's, like I said, he's only like 5'7" or 5'8". He's taller than Richard Allen. But but I'm 6'3". Absolutely, with the flora. Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. I am taken, so I don't want to get your hopes up. Oh, Ron, huh? I don't know. Hey, Rock. Hopefully you're locked down there. Oh, you missed before. I don't know if I posted in Discord or not, but Drake Mays to get the start Sunday for the Patriots. I would assume that you would be a big fan of that. Got plenty of beer. Yeah, it's a Ruckus said. His wife's friends were calling. What's up, Mustang? His wife's friends were calling and asking, you're okay, you gonna have this or that. And Ruckus' friends, hey, you got enough beer? Frosty, I saw as I was getting ready to go on here that you did a live this afternoon. I will have to catch the replay of that. Was it like a Halloween thing? Because I was talking about maybe doing one for my members only, but it maybe, you know what? If Delphi goes off, it's gonna dominate every night. You know what I mean? So not that we can't do other things or anything, but that if that trial happens and it's 3 weeks long or whatever the trial itself ends up being, each night there's going to be like the 3 day thing we had. It's going to be just people from the courthouse. It's just going to go on. Someone will have a live at 11 o'clock. Like it'll be everybody covering everything. And no one's minds are going to change from one side to the other. I predict maybe one or two people, maybe they're the most honest people in the world, but nobody's minds are going to change. No matter what the evidence is that comes out, it'll be the same evidence, but anyways, it's going to be, for those days. If it doesn't happen, I think it'd be really cool to maybe do a Halloween panel on somebody's channel. It doesn't have to be mine, with a bunch of creators. I don't know, with top Halloween stories, favorite Halloween movies. Halloween is a holiday that, like Christmas, I don't know, everyone thinks Christmas is the best. But like Halloween, even how old you get, like go to a Halloween party, like me and Brooke, we're dressing up. We have a party to go to. We're talking about what we're going to be. I think we're just going to go rent a couple costumes, but I don't know. I'll put pictures up for sure of what we do. But Halloween, like no matter the age, like you could get into Halloween. It seems like people always watch like Halloween movies. I know guys I work with, from young to old, black, white, rich, poor, every demographic. Like if you're going through the channels and a Halloween movie's on at Halloween time, you just leave it on. Like about Michael Myers Halloween. Sorry, Jason, if you're still in here. They used to air Friday the 13th movies on Friday the 13th. I remember that. But Halloween I think it's cool. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that is the lot for the Freedom Bridge. I encourage everyone to go to that, and everyone to also to attend the Floral Walk. Yeah, or Rock, you're going to continue on with it and not respect whatever the adjudication is. People ask me, if you think Richard Allen's found innocent, could you still think that he did it? And I said, yeah, I could still think that he did it, but he's adjudicated innocent because of what majority of his peers believe. I'll respect the verdict. And what are you going to do? It happens. You know what I mean? It happens. But that would be the prosecution's fault for not, taking care of business in the courtroom, I would assume. I think that they have quite a bit of evidence, but emails himself items for Prezzo. You have to tell me what that means. Rescue all the dogs. Roasting corn and selling big turkey legs. Ah. Yeah, our political season, that was a golf outing, so it's wrapping up here rapidly. Yeah, hurt people. You know what? Let's get back to my thing here. So I'm going to show you guys this video before we're at 40 minutes now. This video is it's like 5 minutes long, but I'm going to put into the chat once I get this started the links to the videos, the links to the channels of these folks, because there's some really good information in it. And it's just a couple clips that I put together. And it is about projection.
How do you recognize?
So I'm going to put this up. Make sure we're on the right thing. We are. Look at my suggestions. Nothing too crazy, huh?
Recognize this in yourself. It's challenging to recognize this given that it's an unconscious process, but there are some behavioral red flags that can give you pause and a chance to reflect. Some signs that you're projecting are having intense emotional reactions to what others say or do, especially if the reactions seem disproportionate. Like you easily blow up at people and you're not always sure what they said to make you angry. Another thing is you find yourself blaming people a lot. You spend a lot of time noticing people's flaws or trying to fix them. There are different reasons that people are critical, but in this case, it's because you're noticing your flaws in other people. A common saying for this is, you spot it, you got it. And then another sign that you're projecting is seeing a pattern in the conflicts that you have with people. There are frequent misunderstandings, or people don't understand why you're offended or angry. And this happens across different kinds of relationships. Now, it may be easier to recognize that someone is projecting onto you. Here's an example. Let's say you plan a nice outing for.
This is a really good example. This is her name's Dr. Tracy Marks. I just shared the links to this video and the other one that's made up from this. But this is a really cool example of projection.
Us, you and me, to go on a picnic. You make all the arrangements with the food and the location, but doing something like this makes you feel vulnerable because you don't want anything to go wrong and you really want me to like it. I compliment you and say how nice it is. And then later I look up at the sky and say, it looks cloudy. I hope it doesn't rain. You explode and say, oh, I guess I can't do anything right. Then fine, we'll leave. I think, whoa, where did that come from? I thought we were having a nice time. Now, if I had loose boundaries in this area of assuming others' negative emotions and owning blame, I might feel bad for saying what I said and ruining our time. Thanks to me, we're now leaving. But if I had stronger boundaries in this area, I would not accept that your anger is my fault and apologize. I would.
So basically, other people's emotions don't have anything to do with you. So if anywhere in life, just try to, other people's opinions are none of your business. Just try to whatever's whatever, you know what I mean? I always had a saying, and when I was, even coaching basketball, oh, so-and-so from the crowd doesn't like you. And I'm like, fuck them. Luckily, I don't care. I sleep good at night. I think I do the right thing, live the right way, and I'm happy with it. So, but it's hard to do. It's very hard to do, but you have to just let stuff go. You know what I mean? And don't let any exterior forces affect you if you can help it. Just try to stay on your path. Do what you got to do. Do what you're doing. Don't worry about whatever.
Recognize that here we are in nature, and I should feel free to observe what I see in front of me.
Projection to shield them from their shadow, who never strive to question whether the image they hold of themselves is perhaps too perfect, go through life forever in need of scapegoats or people on whom to blame all their problems. Often a friend or family member is chosen as one's scapegoat, but the problem with this choice
is on YouTube, and this is Carl Jung's book,
is that it irreparably damages and in many cases forces an end to the relationship. After driving away one's scapegoat, it is usually discovered that one's problems persist nonetheless. This spurs some to look within and to face up to the elements of their personality they have for so long tried to deny. But rather than partaking in this internal reflection, most people merely look for another scapegoat. In this process, it is often discovered that the most effective form of scapegoat is not any individual in particular, but rather entire groups of people.
Entire groups of people. So this is what we see today all across the board. Politics, probably the biggest, because it has the most people involved in it, national politics. So it's gone to the point where everything's so divided, and you can look at 100 different things. Politics, different cases, one side of the Delphi case, the other side of the Delphi case, Idaho, John Benet Ramsey, Madeline McCann, all these kind of these unsolved things. And you have this vitriol between the sides, and it boils down to like anything that bad that happens to them, they could somehow point at the other side and say, listen, I wouldn't have gone through this, or this wouldn't have happened to me if it wasn't for you jagoffs over here, or whatever. I mean, it really gets to that point, and it begins to, like, take over people's lives. But it's just, it's a huge projection, and it becomes a projection from one mass of people to another mass of people. Then you have the other mass of people projecting back at them. So it's just not good. It's something like that's never going to diffuse or never going to end.
Tendency of scapegoating to occur on a collective level can have dangerous consequences for a society. Those unwilling or unable to face up to their shadows are easy prey for collectivist movements which have ready-made scapegoats in the form of political opponents, members of different ethnic groups or socioeconomic classes. Scapegoating at the level of collectives, or in other words, projecting our problems onto groups of people who differ from us, proves attractive for several reasons. It allows us to avoid the damage to our personal relationships which occurs when we use someone close to us as a scapegoat. Furthermore, given that our interactions with members of the scapegoated group are usually limited, we do not risk awakening to the realization that these people are not nearly like the distorted image of them we hold in our psyche. Scapegoating at a group level is made easier by the fact that those in the scapegoated group, being composed of individuals with their own weaknesses and flaws, may in fact behave in ways that provide legitimate reasons for indignation, or as Jung put it, not that these...
This is a Carl Jung quote. This is an absolutely, I mean, I'm big into quotes, but you could debate or talk about this quote, in my opinion, for hours. For absolutely hours. Listen to this and let me know what you think about it.
Others are wholly without blame, for even the worst projection is at least hung on a hook, perhaps a very small one, but still a hook offered by the other person. But as Jung recognized, there is a tendency within collectivist movements to take this small hook offered by one's opponents and to hang on it virtually all that is wrong with oneself in the world, destructive behavior. Rather than taking responsibility for such actions, most people make use of the psychological phenomenon known as projection in order to...
All right, so that hook quote. So maybe there's a little bit of something there. Maybe there's a little bit of a just a little bit of a truth there, and that's the hook. But they just hang all this shit on it because, oh, we have this little bit of something here, and now we're going to go expand it to something else. And you'll see that's a huge projection thing. Excuse me. Yeah, you absolutely have to look at families. The younger the children are, the higher percentage it's a family. Once you hit the Libby's and Abby's age, that begins the age where that starts getting away from the family. Still less than 18 or older. Certainly, I don't know if there's another age bracket, or it would be 15 to 18 or 15 to 19, whatever they would call it. But the older you get, the more people you're exposed to. So there's a better chance that it's not a family member, someone that's very young. We talked about John Benet Ramsey, Madeline McCann. That's very young, and the odds are highly, if you just look at the odds, are highly in favor that the family is involved. I can't say either of those. I don't know enough about it. I read John Douglas's take on John Benet Ramsey, and I've watched a couple of McCann videos, and I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube, and I've seen some war within the comments with people who both are making kind of sensible arguments to me, but I don't know enough about the case. So they wanted Gotti. Yeah. Well, yeah, they overlooked quite a bit, but you're 100% right. Gotti beat them and then flaunted it. And the FBI dudes couldn't take it. They were like, fuck that. Projection for me is nil. We all project a little bit. We really do. But in your relationships with people at work, or are you playing cards with somebody? Is somebody projecting like, oh man, a big hand or something like that? Is that somebody's tell? But just different things like that. It helps you understand people more, and it can help you understand yourself more. So if you catch yourself doing things that you would say, hey, this is like a projection thing. Why am I doing this? I have a feeling about so-and-so that they did this, but maybe am I doing that too? And then you kind of look back and you kind of get it. And once you kind of correct that behavior in your own life, or do it, or come to terms with that behavior, then you're not seeing it in other people, if that makes sense. So in a way, the more good that you do, the more good you'll see in other people. If that's, I don't think that's a fairy tale. I know some people could say, oh, that's not a fairy tale. I think that that's true. Yeah, he won't talk about that, Jason. If you see him in his any of his interviews, that's like the one thing he won't talk about. That's his, with Ted. We talk about with Ted Bundy, the Kimberly Leach, his final murder, the 12-year-old girl. Hey, Randy. Randy was doing a live tonight. Didn't have a chance to jump in. Law enforcement could have cleared people like they just recently said, Galen. Yeah, and here's the thing with clearing the family, like I don't see how it could have been bad for their investigation. And this is what I mean. If the person that did it, they were very confident wasn't in the family. And if they say that they cleared the family, then the person that did it, if he's sitting back and watching the news, Richard Allen or not, or even if it's multiple people, let's say, I don't believe that, but we'll walk down that street. I don't have a problem with that, that releasing that the family didn't do it. Like, it wasn't like there was an attempt to frame the family. So I think if they could have, whatever they got rid of them, they could have said, listen, we know the family wasn't involved in this. I don't think that would have tipped the investigative hand at all, or anything like that. I really don't. So I agree with you, though. Did it lend to people attacking the family? I think people would have attacked the family anyway. Maybe not as much, but even if law enforcement said they weren't involved, I think that they would have anyway. Gibberish and wisdom. That's not a bad combination. Sammy the Rat. Yeah. And he has a shirt, and it's like a license plate. And I don't know how many, 19 is how many murders he pled to. Not that he was the trigger man. He'll admit that. But he set up, planned, partook in 19. And 2 of those include the Tommy Bellotti, the driver, and of course, the boss, hailing from the White House. Oh my God, how can I forget his name? What a mental block this is. What's his name, John, too? I could see his face. Oh, Big Paul Castellano. And they all dressed in them Russian hats and everyone looked alike. And none of the witnesses, that's a great case study for witnesses. So they all these Russian like hats. He called them like babushka hats. But to me, a babushka is something different that like a lady would put on her hair after she just sat in that perm machine thing for an hour, and she'd come out of the beauty shop. But anyways, so they had these like them hats, like them big like fur hats, and they all had the same coats on, and everyone was dressed exactly the same. So when police asked for descriptions, the only descriptions they got was how everyone was dressed, to the point where they couldn't even really get sizes, weights, heights, nothing for anybody. They thought they were all white, and they all had a Russian head and like coat type or Russian gear on. Was all they said. So it was playing perfectly. So in case you didn't know this, Gotti and Sammy the Bull were across the street, a block down. They were able to see everything. They actually pulled up to the car and saw Bellotti, because Paul was on the side of the restaurant. Bellotti was in traffic, so he slowed down to make sure they were dead. Now, Sammy said that he would have finished the job if they weren't dead, and at that point he might as well, because it'll get back to them if they're not dead, that they were going to kill the Bull and all these other guys. So, but and if you guys didn't know that, that's an interesting kind of tidbit. They were right there. And then Gotti was driving, and then he said that he just took his time. They put on 102 Wins or whatever, the New York sports station, and they just drove away. So 63, the hospital wave. Yeah, that's the University of Iowa. That's on my community page. They built a hospital at the University of Iowa, Children's Hospital. It overlooks the stadium. And at the end of every first quarter, everybody looks and waves to the kids, and the kids will be, there's quite a few views that the kids have. I don't know if it's in the hospital rooms or they go into a hallway or whatever it is they do. And these are some very, very sick children. And they're so happy and they wave. Everybody waves, the fans, both teams, the visiting teams all stop. They all take their helmets off and wave to the kids. And it shows you, we all can kind of remember our time as a kid. And whether our time as a kid was good or not, you usually people have a special place for kids. Oh. JJ says goose is greasy. I don't know if I tried or not. I've never had duck either. I don't know. Dave might be taking a nap and getting ready for this hurricane because Dave has really good coverage. He just comes on in the middle of the night. Channels to focus on drama, don't have anything else to offer. Well, some people that's what they enjoy, and YouTube's a free platform. You know what I mean? Other people might enjoy watching it, or just think it's funny, or whatever the case may be. So, I won't knock anyone for doing anything. Free platform, and if people like to watch it, they watch it. If you don't like to watch it, don't watch it. Glad you're here watching me, but I just try not to get mad. You sometimes you roll your eyes, you hear people say stuff about like the facts of the case, not a theory or not. I don't like this person or that person, but like they'll say like something. They're like, "Oh, this is what happened," and you're like, "Well, we know that didn't happen. Like we know that much," but maybe that they're speaking out of a place of ignorance and just not knowing and not trying to just blatantly lie. I don't know. Oh, look at Jinx. Jinx gifts 5 memberships. You guys are fantastic. I put there's a members only video or 2 I put up. Anyways, let me finish this video real quick for you. I don't think we're going to
avoid facing up to their shadow. In this video, we are going to explore the phenomenon of projection by looking at the dangers it poses to the well-being of both the individual and society at large. Projection occurs when we attribute an element of our personality, which resides in our unconscious, to another person or group. We can project both negative and positive characteristics, however, there is a greater tendency to project the former rather than the latter. Sigmund Freud, who popularized the term in the mid-1890s, believed projection to be a defense mechanism used to avoid the anxiety that is provoked when one is forced to face up to their faults, weaknesses, and destructive tendencies. Jung's view of projection was similar to Freud's, and as he explains in Archaic Man, projection is one of the commonest psychic phenomena. Everything that is unconscious in ourselves we discover in our neighbor, and we treat him accordingly.
So that's the gist of that. And there's, like I said, there was just a couple of things, but in the chat here, I shared the link to those people's channels. I shared the actual videos. Now, the Carl Jung videos, it's like 48 minutes long. But if you're into it, give us 6'2" in heels. I have bad ankles. I wouldn't be able to take 2 steps in heels. Your sister's 5'1". Yeah, listen, it is. It's, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't be held accountable for things they say or anything like that, but in a way, it's like a primal defense mechanism. You know what I mean? I ate too much darn sauerkraut. I made a roast Sunday. I've been eating for 3 days. Trying not to burp here, but it's almost a primal thing. It's like a gut reaction, and then of course. Very few people could ever back down and say, "Oh, maybe I was off on this or that." Which, I mean, I think I'd have more respect for people that did that, even if I agree with them. Never. That's hey, all right, man. Halloween is awesome. I do. I think maybe we could do something Halloween thing. I don't know what Topic would be, yeah, honeybee doesn't mess around. You ready to get off here and sneeze like 150 times? Bruce Willis yelled Die Hard. It's funny because I mean, like when you were young, when we were young, I should say when we were young, I'm 45. So if you're around my age, you remember that you couldn't just have any movie on demand, but certain movies would come on at certain times of the year. And if I always remember, Die Hard always came on, like it would come on, like if we had HBO, I lived with my grandpa till I was in 4th grade. We had HBO because of the boxing. He was a Gold Gloves guy, and he was a judge in real life, and he was a boxing judge too. So he loved it. So there was really good. It was like the pay-per-view fights. You know what I mean? They were on HBO in the very early 80s. I remember being a very young kid watching that with him. But you would get whatever movies would come on. And Die Hard would come on like the night after Thanksgiving, and it would be on like the Christmas season. So I always just kind of like equated that as like a Christmas movie. Yeah. That's, I mean, the only way that's going to happen, obviously, they're not going to toss the case in any way, shape, or form. Now, is there going to be appeals? Sure. I would imagine there's some kind of appeal, unless, and maybe I bought this hook, line, and sinker, and I shouldn't have, unless Richard Allen legitimately, hey, I found God. I legitimately did this. I want to say I did this and blah, blah, blah. I don't want an appeal, but I don't. Even if he feels that way, I think he could be talked to say, we understand that you're still going to be good. Jesus would want you to go to an appeal or something like that. And I think people would use things like that. And maybe not just to like for a money grab, because it's not going to be these attorneys. It would be other attorneys. But if they think they could get this overturned, even if they work on a pro bono, man, that would put their names in the history books legitimately. Every felon that gets arrested would want them to represent them. So Galen's lived with 8 years from out a hug from our daughters. Yeah, Kiera would be in college, probably playing basketball. Yeah, absolutely. And then the other girls, and it was interesting when we talked to Galen, we'll have to have her on again and check in on how the new job and everything is, but how all the girls were different. I had 2 kids and they were vastly different, but I could imagine 4. And, like these 2 sort of kind of did the same things that overlapped. And then these 2, and then it was just the dynamic of all that's very interesting. And it's very sad to look and think like what could have been or this or that. And she doesn't have a resolution yet. And, I keep telling you there's things happening, and then I don't know how fast they're happening, but somebody's has information, and it's not a lot of information, but it's something, and that's all they have to do. All they have to do. Anyone ever has anything for me, Kevlar148gmail.com. Always taking floor information. If you think you have a crazy theory, it's not too crazy. I've heard the craziest theories you could ever imagine. I'm not going to knock you for it because you sent me an email and you actually care. Hey, I heard this. What do you think? I have no problem with that. Hourly, I projected quite a bit for a long time too. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I haven't heard that before, but it's true. Yes, in the archive does great work. Pointing with fish. Yes, that's a great way to put it. No need to pick up others' baggage. You can help people with their baggage or try to hey, listen, let me tell you what worked for me. But it might not work for you. But, ultimately, no one should ever be afraid to seek mental health resources or mental health professionals. I did it. It was more of a work-related type thing. I didn't have to go or nothing like that for work, but I just reached a point where I what the fuck? I have to figure something out. and was guided with the medical weed and understanding things. And at the very least, it'll give you coping mechanisms. And when something happens or you feel a certain way, then you're able to do, hey, I got 2 or 3 things to do, and this is what helps me release that and get that anxiety out. And it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important in my field. You guys know how I feel about PTSD, fire department, police department, emergency services. More deaths occur in all 3 of those fields from suicide than in the line of duty every year. And it's been like that for probably about 15 years now. And that is absolutely insane. And we have to do something about it. So I don't think anyone should ever feel reaching out for something. It doesn't make you any less of a person. When I started at the fire department 23 years ago, you would never talk about this. And now we're at a point where if something happens, there'll be grief counselors in there. Scapegoating, yes, I've heard of scapegoating before. Scapegoating is that you're just projecting onto a definite target. You're not blaming like maybe society. I guess because society could be a scapegoat, but hey, what I said wasn't right, and it's because of these folks over here did something or something to that effect. Politics are very polarizing, absolutely. Oh, really? I don't follow that much, but I'll check that out. Yeah, but that's that was like the local like creepy guy. I don't know if he was a former offender. Yeah, well, Charles knows who he is. Yeah, local level, it gets nasty. There hasn't been any kind of like, at least in my town, and as crazy as things are here, no kind of like bloodshed or any kind of things like that. Just your usual, Olivia asking, was he formally charged with Maddie's murder? I don't think he was at this point, but again, I don't follow that case, but someone here will be able to answer. Well, thank you, Jinx. The boss mod. Well, sorry, I won't get to see you if you're going to the thing Sunday. Any guy who walks around courthouses harassing people. You're talking about, no, I don't think he's Indian. I'm not exactly sure. He has a YouTube page and he does YouTube content, and it's a free platform. I'll say this about now. I believe that what he thinks he's doing is right and righteous. I'll give him that. I think so. I believe that about him. Yeah, that's wild if that it'd be nice, JJ. I enjoy memes of politicians from both sides, I must say. So, Jinx, you got quite a few people here. Hey, Miss P. Amahama. No doubt about that, Ron. I'm sure you are. Phil Bond, wherever you are, I see someone saying hi to you. Paul Castellano, yeah, Mustang was on. I couldn't believe I couldn't think of that. Jizza had a song about that. The whole rap, the whole verse. It's like one verse, and it was all about that. Chaos outside of Spark Steakhouse. Don't be afraid to hug Charles. I don't know if Charles is making it out there. It'd be great if you do. When you get there, guys, like I said, everyone has their own experiences. You shared the password for just about every business in downtown McKeesport's fire alarm system, Ron. Yeah, if you're down there, man, take cover. I don't know if you left or not or what was going on with you. Haven't really been any discords in the last few days either, so I haven't been keeping up that much. But so projection, I hope it helps you understand. So, everyone will have their initial visceral reaction. Someone says something, whether it's someone at work, someone on YouTube, someone in politics, you have a visceral reaction, and just have that reaction. But before you, fire off a tweet or whatever, think for a second and just try to think, okay, why did that come from that person like that? What is this a form of projection, or are they just stating a fact here and saying, hey, boom, this is my response to what this other person said? Like, and try to understand that. And if you have if you're going at it with this person, a political debate or a debate about true crime, whatever it is, take a more, slow down approach a little bit, be a little more methodical about it. Think it through. Think about what they're coming at and why they're coming at you for this particular thing. And then try to use that. If you're buying a car next time, try to use this. You know what I mean? It could be very useful. And there's plenty more to study about it. I am incredibly novice on this, as I tell you about the profiling thing too, but I think it's interesting. So anytime that there's like any kind of arguments or debates amongst creators, subs, in any kind of true crime genre, at some point during that, I try to look at both of them and just try to be like, okay, why is she going this way? And why is she going that way? And why is he going this? Like, what's the dynamic? And there's nothing, I'm never going to come on here and say, hey, I figured out that Joe doesn't like Jim because Tommy said to Timmy. I'm never going to do that, but it's just like interesting. It's like a puzzle behind the scenes going on, and through the psychological stuff that I'm very into. I just think it's very interesting. So, but anyways, I'm going to leave you with that. I appreciate greatly you joining me for this hour and 11 minutes. Oh, good. 7 inches in roller skates. But I thought that this would be a helpful episode for people, and just try to understand things. And, maybe, people do what you want to do. YouTube is a free platform. Twitter, Facebook, whatever people want to do with content creators, subs, people to communicate in the chat, whoever, you're all free to do whatever you want to do. But, if you want to avoid situations, maybe as best you can, where you're, get brought into something or whatever the case, just be thoughtful and be aware. And if you have to get into it, be a little bit more methodical instead of just running and jumping at things. But ultimately, try not to let what other people think affect you as much. People that are important to you, if they say, hey, listen, you're drinking too much, or you snore at night or something like that, you try to correct that, try to fix that. But, people that you don't know or haven't met, and, hey, they have this opinion of you, don't hate them because they don't like you or they don't like your content. But like, oh, okay, well, best of luck to you. I'm not for you. This channel isn't for you. Or as a subscriber, hey, to a content creator, hey, your channel isn't for me. I'm going to go ahead and listen to someone else. Absolutely fine. But that's just a little aspect, the mental aspect of YouTube that I thought for a long time, I thought it very interesting. I hope you found it interesting too. And I hope you do more research on projection, yourself, other people, and things like that, because it'll help you understand people more sometimes. And it might be able to avoid a confrontation, maybe with a loved one at work, where you could say, hey, I get where you're coming from, but you don't mean that, but I get it. And hopefully it's a tip for you. So I'm going to get out of here. We're going to say tentacles. I've talked a lot. I drank all my tea. Moved on to water. Going down in the 40s here tonight, so I might have to make another tea here to stay warm. But I thank you all for joining me. I hope that you learned something or spurred a little bit of thinking in your head. And the next time you watch your favorite YouTube creator, you could use some of this knowledge and understand, okay, maybe this is coming from here, or use it on me. I mean, tell me what you think. I might be surprised. I might not be. I'm not sure. But whatever you guys think you want to do, it's useful. But it's useful all across the board in life. I'll say that. So pay attention for updates. You get Frank, Turbo, any Delphi stuff that's breaking. We're very close to court. We're what 8 days from jury selection. I'm not sure the date, maybe 9 days from jury selection. So if something's going to happen, it should happen soon, as far as another stall or anything like that. But I don't know, man. Maybe it's just like a pipe dream. I just don't see this ever getting to a courtroom. And I don't have anything to say, just like a gut feeling, and that doesn't matter. But I wouldn't bet on it necessarily. But I just don't think that it's. I don't know. I don't know. But I hope there's some kind of vindication in some way, shape, or form, and it's put to bed. But I'm going to leave you to it. We're going to say tentacles and Coach Kev out.